every time I drive this truck, that is obviously my favorite thing about it. Doing that cold start and just getting in this truck and driving it. It's an absolutely amazing experience, especially for somebody who likes louder exhaust. The Attack is definitely for you. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hammer Down Motorsports. My name is Steve Fast. Hope you guys are having an amazing day. We are out here in Pennsylvania driving around in the 2019 Ram Rebel, and today we're going to talk a little bit about my experience of owning the Lararmie and what things that I do miss about that truck opposed to having the Rebel. So if you're on the fence, you're thinking about buying maybe a Rebel, maybe a Lararmie, they're pretty much the same price. It's just there are two different things, and these are some of the things that I do sort of miss about the Lararmie. So before we get started, I am 100% satisfied with my Rebel purchase. There are just a couple little things that maybe would be nice to have in the Rebel, and I've spoken a little bit about this before, but never really made a list. And now after having the truck for 2 weeks, I kind of have a few things that I really wish that this truck did have. So first of all, the automatic headlights. That is one thing that the Lararmie has and the Rebel does not. And this is a Rebel 12. This is a pretty much top trim level. I really don't think there's much I didn't get. The only things I think is I didn't get an e-torque because I didn't want that, and I didn't get air suspension, but I also didn't really want that either because I figure for a couple $100 I can get airbags for the rear for towing, and I just don't really need those problems in the future if this is a truck I end up keeping for several years or to the point where it's off warranty. So yes, when I'm driving at night, it is a little bit annoying that every time somebody passes me, I gotta turn my high beams off. It doesn't do it automatically, but that's something you're gonna have to expect when you do buy a Rebel. And that's something that I really didn't notice at first, and it wasn't something that I necessarily checked for when I bought the Rebel, but I mean, all in all, not a deal breaker, but just something that I noticed. So now the second thing that I noticed is it doesn't have the radar sensing cruise control, which will set the distance between the car in front of you, and it'll hit the brakes if there's a big change in traffic speed or anything like that. That is a nice to have thing about the Lararmie. It is something that I sort of miss, but I guess I'm just gonna have to suck it up because now I'm in a Rebel and that's just something that it doesn't have. So the third thing I noticed, and I think this is something that is available on the Rebel, is the power release tailgate. I don't have it on this truck. It was kind of a, I guess, a party trick is what you probably want to call it. So when, you know, show people your new truck, you hit the button, it pops down, like, oh, wow, cool. The first question that everybody asked me when I showed them that option is, well, does it go back up? And no, it does not. You just have to manually close it. So, I mean, do I need to have a button on my remote to open my tailgate? Definitely not, but it is a difference between this truck and that truck. The next thing I noticed, and I noticed this pretty much right away, is it doesn't have the wireless charging port either. Now, that's something that I actually don't really miss because if you're gonna hook up your phone to Apple CarPlay, and I do that a lot, you're gonna have the cord plugged in anyway. So now you have your phone plugged in, it's sitting in the area where the wireless charger was anyway, the cord's gonna charge the phone, so you don't need the wireless charger. Really, the wireless charger was only good if you don't want to have to plug in your phone, and you just kind of stick it in the slot, it starts charging it, and you're good to go. All in all, that's something I'm not going to miss, but it is something that the Rebel doesn't have, and the Lararmie did. So the next thing I noticed was the stereo, and the Lararmie Sport that I had before had the Harman Kardon stereo, and to be honest with you, I didn't really care for it. I found that if I turned it up past a quarter, maybe a little bit more, it would start rattling. Like there was something in the back that would rattle in the cab. It was really annoying. Any kind of bass at all, would just be like brah, 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 all the time, and it was terrible. I really didn't like that, and I basically just had the stereo turned down. If I hear a good song, I didn't really want to crank it up because I didn't want to hear that rattling sound. It was really annoying to me. This truck has the Alpine system, so it's not the Harman Kardon. It's just got less speakers. It doesn't have the little tweeters in the doors or anything like that, but I find that the purity of the sound of this system is actually better than the Harman Kardon, just for me. If I want to turn up a song, this one has really good bass and nothing rattles in this truck, and just the sound in general, I just find it to be a little bit better. I mean, I'm no stereo professional or anything like that. I'm sure there's people out there that love their Harman Kardon, but for me, the Alpine stereo is a little bit of a better fit for my music needs. And then there's a couple of things that we've already talked about, like the ambient lighting being better in the Lararmie. You got it everywhere, door panels, dashboard, all that kind of good stuff. And also has air-conditioned seats, which we've talked about before as well. And yeah, the Rebel doesn't have them. But here we are, it's like 90 some degrees today, and I'm not really missing them. My back's not sweating, air conditioning works good. I don't really know what the myth is about the 5th gen Rams and the air conditioning not working. I've never had a problem. I've had 2 of them, and I've never felt that it wasn't sufficient enough to keep up with the weather that we have. And we get weather pretty close to 100 degrees during the summer at times. So, I mean, all in all, I think it does work and does the job every bit as good as every other vehicle that I have. Another thing you're going to notice between the Rebel and the Lararmie is the suspension height. If you have the spring suspension in your Lararmie like my previous truck was, there's about a 1-inch difference in height between these 2 trucks. And just having that little bit extra height just makes you kind of feel like you're more commanding on the road. You're driving around in something that's a little bit more rugged, off-road, and it just feels a little bit more truck-like to me. So I've had the Rebel for 2 weeks now, and honestly, those are just a few things that I noticed between the 2 trucks. I'm not really missing any of those things necessarily, but it is something that I didn't notice the first time I drove it. So I figured it was worth making the video to share that with you guys if you are considering buying this truck or buying a Ram Lararmie Sport. Both trucks are very nice in their own way, but there are those differences that for the individual might be different for you than for me, and what you can live without and what I can live without, and all that kind of good stuff. That's why I kind of want to keep you guys informed on my experience so far with the truck. And every time I come up to this truck, I have a totally different feeling than I did with the Lararmie. The Lararmie, I always thought it was really kind of sinister and sporty, and this truck is just kind of mean off-road and just plain awesome. So as far as projects go, we still have the Hammer Wagon project underway. We have the 1995 Ram 2500 4-wheel drive. I'm currently working on the bed on it, getting that all straightened out so we can do the box liner paint job. Then I got to do the cab corners on the cab, get that all put back together. It's going to clear up some room in the shop. Then we can get our 3rd gen seats installed, get our interior back together, and it'll start looking like a truck once again, and we can go out and play with that thing. And we will have more content on the channel with that truck, having a little bit of fun, doing a little bit more extreme off-roading than I would want to do with this truck. I mean, I'm not saying I'm afraid to get this truck dirty, but I think the big jobs are going to be handled by that truck rather than this truck. But you never know. We're definitely going to be having some fun with this truck as well, so definitely stay tuned for that. So with that being said, I hope you guys are enjoying following along on our little video series, the must-have mods for the Ram Rebel. Now, obviously, these are the must-have mods in my opinion for my truck, and that's why I'm putting them out there as my way to share with you guys kind of the things that I'm doing on the truck and why I chose what I chose, being that we did have a Ram Lararmie Sport before, and we did a few things to that truck, and why I kind of changed my mind doing it over on this truck, hoping that that would help you guys out maybe in your decision making on your own personal vehicle. So we are moving along with that. We do have a few more things to put on and many more things to come in the future. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And as always, keep that hammer down.